Well, welcome to another episode of Breakaway from the Rat Race. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Kim Daly. Kim has invested more than 20 years educating, motivating, and inspiring people to control their time and financial future by investing in the right franchise. As a franchise consultant, she offers a free service that matches background, interests, skills, finances, and goals to the best franchise opportunities available today. And Kim is recognized as one of America's top franchise consultants, and we are excited for her to tell us why franchising is more than food and retail, why you don't need any prior business experience, and how you can become a successful franchisepreneur. That's very difficult to pronounce. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that introduction, Eric. I'm excited to be here. I love the name of your show. Breakaway
Thank you
from the
very
Rat
much.
Race. Let's go.
So, Kim, I also by the end of the show, you're gonna give you a link, a special link to a free consultation, how the people can reach out to you. So make sure you stick around and watch the whole show, and then Kim is gonna share with us a special link to get a free consultation with her and see if franchising is right for you. So, Kim, let's talk about kind of like the basic stuff, and I want to go a little bit. We've talked a little bit about franchises before on this show, but I want to. You have kind of like a unique experience and a unique expertise, which is kind of like the mindset thing. A lot of other people are more mechanical. The numbers add up and stuff like that, but I think for you, I think you also have a lot in terms of the mindset. What's the right mindset that people should have in order to go into franchises? Would you mind going into that a little bit more?
Sure, Eric. So here's the formula that I know to be true in my own 21 years of being an independent consultant, or what I call a franchisee of my franchise, which is called FranChoice. So success equals 20% strategy plus 80% mindset. So here's the thing. So many people invest in franchises thinking all they need is that proven system to go live the life of their dreams. But nothing could be further from the truth. This is why there are so many people in franchising who are mediocre at best, who are not living the life they thought they were signing up for the day they signed their franchise agreement. Because the 80%, how they think, how they talk, and how they act, has a greater impact on the success of their business than that franchise system that they paid for.
Mm-hmm. So give
So
us an
here's my story. I'll tell you
go
my
ahead, go
story real
ahead.
quick,
Yeah.
Eric. So I've been a consultant now for 21 years. So for the first 8 years that I was here, I was an average performing consultant. And then 1 year later, back in 2011, I made history in the franchise consulting industry. So I changed history by building the largest franchise business, consulting business that had ever been built at that time. So I was the same me. My process was the same. We were still in the recession back in 2010 and 2011, but I did over 3.5 times more revenue 1 year later. So what the heck happened? And when this changed for me, it changed everything about how I coach people to really understand what they're investing in a franchise and what they have to bring to the table. Do you want to know what I did?
Well, yeah, I'm the cliffhanger here.
Right. So the first thing I did was I got a really clear vision. I got tired. I got sick and tired of doing the insanity thing Albert Einstein said, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting something different. So many people who own franchises are waiting for something outside of themselves. And I'm not judging. I did the same thing. I was waiting on my franchisor to generate leads from me. I thought, oh, when the economy gets better, my business will improve. Like some people look at the territory and think that it's my territory. That's why I can't be successful, or the competition is killing me. All of these things outside of themselves that ultimately, really, you have no control over except for prospecting. And those things ultimately are not in control of your success. What controls your success is you having a big, clear why, a big, clear vision for your business. And then what I did was I started studying all of my key performance indicators. I was looking at like where were my leads coming from, and when did they buy, and what were my closing ratios? And I came up with what I now call the daily plan. So this is an
Oh.
incremental plan that allows me every single day to come to work and to be executing on only today's goals. So when you step back and you're like, looking at the $1 million mountain, how do I get there? It's so overwhelming. And so many people, I think, stay in that overwhelmed state. And then they just get themselves busy, but busy and productive are not the same thing. By breaking down that goal into your daily bite-sized goals and coming to work only focused on what I have to control today, what I can move the needle forward doing today, that's how I became productive. And really, what I really did, Eric, was I asked myself a question. That's the best rhetorical question any business owner can ask. What would happen if, instead of focusing on all the people who already are my customers, I took a little bit of time every day and started focusing on how can I find new customers? So I had this kind of epiphany moment where I'm like, look, the limiting factor to growing my business is having enough people to play with. So all the people I'm working with, they're already like in some stage of my business, but I need more new people. And so when I came to work every day, I disciplined myself to spend the first few hours every single day prospecting, which was something I hadn't done for the first 8 years. And I had no idea how to do it. But with a little bit of focus and consistency, it's a joke in the industry, oh, Kim Daly, she generates leads in her sleep. And I'm like, it's not really a joke, because 13 years later, right, I do generate leads in my sleep because I've been focused on finding my daily lead now for 13 years. And whatever you focus on over time, you're going to get pretty good at it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a fundamental shift in how I was thinking about my business that I really want every single candidate that I'm working with to really wake up and understand from the day they sign their franchise agreement. You're not a business owner until you master prospecting in your business, right? You're not a business owner until you master prospecting in your business, because having enough customers is what will kill you. Not having enough customers is what will kill your business. Having enough customers is what will grow your business. And that's what will truly set you free. Once you understand where that gas pedal is and how to apply the gas pedal, that's the day you can call yourself a business owner. And that's the day you find true freedom that you think you're, quote, buying when you sign a franchise agreement.
A lot of your customers right now, that you're seeking, that you're trying to connect with, they're W-2 earners, or they're professional health professionals and all that kind of stuff, right? These are the kind of people that you would talk to on a regular basis, that you would prospect to.
Yeah, so I love to prospect exactly for high W-2 earners that kind of find themselves in this place, like graduating from medical school and realize, oh my gosh, like I'm a surgeon and yes, I'm highly paid, but I'm tied to the operating room. And so how do I build other sources of income that don't require me? And that's where franchising can fit in, along with, other passive investments I'm sure that you talk about on your show.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, that I must talk about the mindset, like how big a mindset shift it is. Because I know a lot of people, they heard you say, hey, what I'm doing is, like, I decided to do prospecting and go and seek out clients. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, well, duh. But if you're a dentist, if you're a surgeon, you don't advertise for your services. I mean, the clients come to you, they're being referred to you all the time. And if you're that kind of person, I mean, your tendency is going to be I'm going to wait for customers who needs my services. But I think that's important to kind of realize that there is a mindset shift that needs to happen. Even if you're highly educated and all of that, you're good at what you're doing, but there are gaps in your skills. There are gaps in your mindset that you need to change, and you need to activate these areas of your brain and your persona in order to build your business.
Or hire somebody.
Oh, handsome.
Yes, that's very true. And if you are building a practice like an attorney building a law firm in the beginning, you have to build your reputation in the community. And an oral surgeon building their practice, you have to build your reputation. So it depends. Like, are you walking into an office where there are other surgeons and you're joining an existing business where there are customers, or are you building it from scratch? Because if you're building it from scratch, it's sort of the same mentality. But a
Mhm.
lot of the highly paid W-2 earners that I work with, they're not investing in businesses that are really prospect driven. These guys they don't have the time. They're investing in things that are more hands-free, Eric,
Yeah.
like laundromat. So
Mm.
the biggest thing with franchising is a lot of times truly like highly trained or people with MBAs or highly educated professionals don't think about franchising as an option because they think that franchising is only food and retail. And they're like, I'm a doctor, I'm a surgeon, I'm not going to go buy a Subway, right? But Kim Daly doesn't show Subway. Like, I'm not going to bring you to food. But when you think about, like, a lot of times they understand that the riches are in the niches, and the more boring the business, the more sustainable it is. So while laundry isn't sexy, laundry can be sexy because it's long-term sustainable, right? Then if you understand, like, demographically where to place a laundromat and how many washers and dryers to have in there and how to run this business through the franchise, you can make a lot of money
Mhm.
with very little time commitment once it's built, right? So this is kind of this extreme trade-off of money for time. When I work with candidates, when they first come to me, I teach them what their money buys. I slow down and I educate everybody how money and time go together. But the gist of what I teach them is money and time are inversely related. So when you see a lower investment of money going in, that always implies very high owner time commitment. So anything that's home based doesn't mean you're working from home. It
Mhm.
means I don't have to take on a location because I'm going out and driving my prospecting plan, cold calling, networking, right? I'm building my business. And so that's probably something more B2B oriented. Now, if we flip that to the laundromat example, which is going to be one of the bigger capital investments, but a very minimal time commitment once it's open. And then
Mhm.
there's a million shades of gray in between that, of course, I would, explain in more detail in a consultation. So, but once people kind of explain to me what they're trying to accomplish in their life and how much time, because a lot of times when people find me, let's say that you're a dentist and you've set up your practice, you've got other dentists in, and now you're only taking special cases, right? So the reason you even have time to talk to me is because you're leveraged through your practice with other dentists. Well, the last thing you want to do is go buy yourself another full-time job, right? So if you're trying to add more revenue streams in, you still want the leverage of systems and tools and technology that buy you back your time and maybe a brand name, right? So with my knowledge of franchising, because I've been doing this for 21 years, I know the kinds of franchises that give people back their time from day one. But I'm going to explain all of that when we have, this one-to-one consultation, just to make sure that as we cast a net around options, we can cast the widest net possible and not just pigeonhole you into what you think you want, because there's so many opportunities out there. It would be such a shame when we're just, what I call dating franchisors, to not play the field a little bit and see what's out there.
So, what are some of the industries that you think are pretty hot right now that if I want to invest in a franchise and I want to be hands-free because the whole thing is about, building passive income investments. Um, so what kind of industry do you think are hot right now that are just up and coming that I should start looking into or be aware of?
Okay, so I just want to say one thing before I answer your question, Eric. A franchise business will never be totally hands-free for the owner. I'm going to define it as semi-absentee. Now, semi-absentee means a lot of different things to a lot of different owners. On my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv, I have probably more than a dozen videos on this very topic of the definition of semi-absentee. But if I had to define it real quick, I would say semi-absent means 20 to 25 hours a week by the owner with a full-time manager. That's a pretty standard answer. So you can get it to where it's hands-free. But if you're building a business from the ground up, right? You're going in, signing a lease, getting this constructed, getting the team in place, the owner has to be there to make sure that you've got the right culture of employees, right? That the customer experience is perfected, or else you're going to fail, right? No one's going to do it like you're going to do it. But it doesn't mean you have to be in it. It means you're the CEO working on it. So just to be clear about that.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I mean, there are so many trends in franchising. So since the pandemic, I would say, and we're talking about health, I would say that the movement toward preventative health, holistic health, businesses that aren't really, they're not new because naturopathic doctors have been playing with these modalities for hundreds of years, right? Chinese medicine's been doing it for years, but it's new in that it's being packaged in a way that's sort of mainstream, sort of like what Massage Envy did for massage, right? They didn't
Yeah.
create anything new. They just packaged the massage in a way that made it convenient, affordable, and accessible to everybody. And so people have memberships for massage, and more people get massage. Well, the same thing with infrared saunas today and IV drip bars. And you've probably seen some of these. There's
Yeah.
like places like Restore, or it's called Pause Studio, where they have cold plunge and the float tank and all these different modalities to help improve your health, increase your circulation, maybe fight off autoimmune disease or help with mental clarity or depression. We even have the first ever mental health clinic that's a franchise that launched right after the pandemic, which was like amazing timing in our country. And as you can imagine, was one of the fastest growing franchises of 2022,
Yeah.
just because of the timing of, the mental health with people's fear and the isolation from the pandemic and then the drug epidemic in our country. There's just never been a stronger need for mental health care.
Hmm.
And so this franchise launched, and it's just helping a lot of people. It's helping a lot of people. So I think that anything in the healthcare space is growing, working with seniors in any capacity, transportation, companion care, in-home healthcare, seniors, like that senior market is just a growing evergreen market. And on the flip side of that, businesses that cater to young families and children, right? There's always going to be new babies and new toddlers and new kids entering school who needs extracurricular, they need sports. There's so much money to be made on either of those extremes. I think pet care, like,
Hmm.
look, 2020, the two biggest industries that grew in the pandemic were pools and puppies.
Oh,
Every
cool. Oh,
pool and everybody got a puppy, right? So
yeah.
if you think about with the pool, okay, so if you put a pool in the ground, Eric, what do you need? Well, you need a fence. Now you need outdoor lighting because you might be swimming at night. Oh, if you're
Yeah.
swimming at night and there are mosquitoes, you need a mosquito spraying company. You need better landscaping. You need a patio. You might need a pool cleaning franchise. All of those are franchises
Yeah. Yeah.
that grew simply because more people built pools. Now
Mm.
let's pick on the dog thing. So the explosion of puppies in 2020. So we have franchises that pick up dog poop in the backyard. We have, again, the fencing companies. We have dog training franchises. I just helped somebody invest in a dog training franchise. We have doggy daycare. We
Hmm.
have dog grooming, like all of these services, right? Like our dogs have to eat whole food now, and our dogs have to be bathed every 3 to 4 weeks. Like their teeth have to be brushed. So, I say it funny, but look, I'm a
And
dog
mental
owner.
health care for the puppies.
I spend all that kind of money on my pets. So pet care is a huge growing industry. I think the home services space is evergreen. We're always going to spend money on one of our greatest investments, our home.
Hmm.
So whether it's inside or outside, franchising covers all of it, from the big transformational projects like windows and doors and floors and painting your house, patios, roofs, to the reoccurring services like the cleaning companies and the mosquito or pest control services, or fertilizing the grass. So if you like to be inside or you like to be outside, there's something for everybody, and there's so much money to be made in all of those categories.
So Kim, so if let's say I'm a VP or so a VP, very busy VP of something at a large corporation, and I said, well, I would be interested in that. I have lots of money, and I would like to build some passive income or semi, semi-passive. And now you're telling me that I need to be able to spend like 20 to 25 hours a week. Did I hear that right? In order to
That's
be
right.
Wow.
Be forever, Eric. But in the beginning, yeah, I mean, to set a realistic standard,
Yeah.
right? It might be better if you have the people who really do well are people that have a W-2 job with a lot of flexibility. Like if you're working from home right now, or you're in an outside sales job, or
Yeah.
you've done this job for so long, you could do it in your sleep. And you don't have FaceTime in a cubicle that you have to put in, where, if a call comes up and or you need to pop into the store, or, in the middle of the day, help an employee, you have that freedom and flexibility. Often, if you have a couple and one is the primary breadwinner, maybe the woman's been home raising kids and now the kids are in school. And so now it's like, what's the next phase of our life? And we
Hmm.
can use her instead of her going back for a job, right, where she's been out of the workforce for so long. We bring a business into the family where she can sort of take the lead role, and then that's how it can be managed. um, Adult children can come in and play those. I just did a placement in Columbus, Ohio with a surgeon, or he might be I think actually a primary care doctor.
Hmm.
And he wanted to set his son up into a business. He's young, he's like 25. So his wife went through the whole process with the son because they were going to be the investors while the son does the actual day-to-day work. So everybody wanted to be in agreement with what the business was and what the opportunity was. And they just invested in 3 units of a business called the Stretch Lab,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
where you
yeah.
go and somebody physically stretches you out. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
there's lots of different ways to do it. And I
Hmm.
think what it comes back to, Eric, is how bad do you want the outcome, right? If you want it bad enough, you will figure out how to make it work. It's a short-term compromise for a long-term win, right? So if you don't have a lot of pain in your life, then change is hard. But if you are motivated to do something greater, have more passion, build that passive income, have more freedom and flexibility, so when your kids grow up, you can be there to coach their sports, or when they fly the coop, you and your wife can go, spend a month on the in this, the south of France, and and you want that freedom and flexibility, but it takes money to do that. It's these kind of stories that drive people to go, all right, what are the compromises I can make today to get this business up and running to where now I've got 3 or 4 locations, I've got managers, and it's sort of on autopilot, and I can manage it with less and less time because I've got all the people in place. That's the story. It's always going to be a compromise up front when you're talking about business cash flow return, but nothing's going to compare to a business cash flow return, right? So if you're comparing it to passive income, this is going to be better. That's going to be better because you don't have to put in time, but business is going to be better because you're going to have higher margins for the
Yeah.
time commitment that's factored in. So all of it's good. Like, I have 2 full-time businesses, but I have tons of passive investments in real estate syndication and car washes and land and cryptocurrency. Oh, don't talk about that. And okay, so these things, some of these things return dividends to me, and some of them don't right now. But like
Yeah.
it's the total portfolio, right? And some of them create great tax advantage that help offset my earnings from my active businesses. So it's always in every good investor portfolio, it's diversified, and it's just about having a little bit of everything
Mm.
to where it's all adding up to what you want it to be.
So, I mean, you gave us some good indication of some industries that are pretty hot and all of that. But my next step, I think, if I have to spend like 20, let's say I'm like that VP again, that I have a pretty cushy job, so I don't feel really the pain to do anything outside what I'm doing. I just like to do something a little bit, just build some passive income, and being able to diversify and do something fun. So, okay, now I'm going to agree to spend like 20 to 25 hours a week on that. But it has to be a lot of fun, and it has to make a lot of money. So I'm going to look at returns here. And so how does that work in terms of selecting the right franchise that obviously is going to fit my personality, my kind of like what I'm interested in, and also that's going to have like high returns. So are there enough types of franchises out there that where I can find a franchise that's going to fit my interest and also my high return requirement?
Okay. So let's break that down. So first of all, there are like 3 to 4 thousand franchises out there at any one time. Finding the right business is not difficult when you know what I know. But if you're out there on your own, it's like a needle in a haystack. That's why you use someone like me whose services are free, 21 years of experience, 21 years of relationships. So investing in a franchise is not about the what. It's always about the who. So when people come to me and they're like, I've looked at franchises, I never found the right one. That's why I never did it.
Mhm.
And I really dig into what they're saying because they were looking for passion for the widget. That's a hobby, not a business.
Mhm.
When you're investing in a franchise, this is about being in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Because if you want to do it by yourself, go be an entrepreneur. But if you want to be a franchisepreneur where we're buying down the risk, we're partnering ourselves with people who can mentor and coach us. So we, as we're exploring franchises, need to be leaning into who are these people? What is their culture? Do I feel like I fit in? Do I feel like this is an environment where I can be open and I can be coached and I can thrive? So when I'm working with candidates, I'm more interested in getting to know your personality. I'm way less concerned with what kind of business you think you're going to be passionate about. What you're going to be passionate about is the business that affords you outcomes. So the business is a means goal, not an end goal. The end goal is time, freedom, financial freedom, right? The business is the means to the end. So for some people, the means is more important than others. I need to believe in it. I need to feel good about it. I want it to genuinely help people. Okay, great. We'll talk about education or green energy or, you know, senior care or healthcare, right? Those businesses genuinely feel good. But for most people, when they step back, they're like, Kim, if you told me that I could invest X amount and I could make this, and I could do that with this amount of hours and have this kind of quality of life, I'd do just about anything. And I'd fall madly in love with it. So it's that story, Eric, that I kind of get people to where it's more about the money and the quality of life, which are the end goals. And the business is just the means to that. So don't worry about what is the widget. That's my job. And it will be
I was
something you'll
hoping
be
people were
very
better than
passionate.
that. I was
Right.
hoping people were better. They just look at the money and then, but that's okay.
Well, okay, here's the thing, Eric. The
Yeah.
reason I don't even let my candidates use earnings claims to make an investment decision is
Yeah.
what is an earnings claim if you've never owned a business before?
Mhm.
An earnings claim means absolutely nothing unless you understand what owners are waking up and doing, what skill they have to do that, how many hours that takes them, right? And are those skills and time that you want to put in? Because you can look at a piece of paper and the earnings claim will knock your socks off. But if owners are putting in more time, excuse me, than you have, or skill that you just don't want to develop, your earnings are never going to look like that. This is not trading a stock,
Mhm.
right? This
Yeah.
is about you showing up for a moment and developing skill. So here's the thing. This also goes back to why my equation of 20% strategy and 80% mindset. Everybody thinks that, again, they're going to buy this franchise and that's all they need. But if 80% of it is your mindset, then the reality is you have to grow into the role of a business owner that
Mhm.
is worthy of the $1 million business before you can have the $1 million business. So you have to figure out how to serve $1 million of customers, right? To have the $1 million business. So my whole coaching strategy with people sets them free, for God's sakes, from earnings claims. Who cares? You can build whatever size business you want to build. And this is truth because I've done it. I'm not talking at you like some expert. I'm talking beside you, like your peer, because I'm a franchisee. Remember, I made history and I've grown that history and broken my own history multiple times over the last 13 years. Right. So it's all about building this growth mindset, understanding where the gas pedal is in the business, and then holding yourself accountable to growing in that way and then pressing down on that gas pedal. So you can make however much money you want to make in any business. You just need to have the ability to scale it. So if your business scales with teams of people, then you need the people. If your business scales with trucks or equipment, then you need to scale with trucks and equipment. If you scale with brick and mortar, then it's about, okay, if I can, gross a $500,000 from one location and net 150, but I want to make 500,000, then you need 3 locations.
Mhm.
So we can build out the scale. And what's fun about scaling a franchise business is the first one, sort of like having kids. The first one changes your life the most, right? Because it's like, whoa, what am I doing? But once you get into the habit of being a business owner and you kind of like settle in and you understand how things go, when you go to have that second baby, it's a lot easier, right? Third baby, even easier, right? Fourth kid, no one cares anymore. Just fall in line with the other kids. But
Fifth
that's
kid,
sort
you
of
have no life, it doesn't matter.
that's sort of what happens when you have a franchise is the first one is the biggest learning curve. And then the second and the third
Yeah.
location just sort of, and then you're able to afford that general manager who then can take over management of multiple stores.
So the location, since you're going to be a semi-absentee owner and business operator, so that means that these businesses, they have to be located close to where you live so that you can actually drive to these locations and manage the team that's there. Is that correct?
So not always. I think it's more ideal to start in your backyard. But if you've been like, I've worked with people that were global team leaders, and so they worked all over the globe. So they're like, well, I'm in Houston, Texas, but I'm going to open a business in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they feel they have the skill, and the franchisor feels that they have the skill to do that, then that can happen. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't live in the state where their businesses are. So, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody into thinking too small. It all comes back to, again, what you're trying to achieve. Are you familiar with the area where you want to put this business? If you've never lived there, how are you going to know if it's a viable area for a certain business, right? If you've lived there or you summer there and you know it well, then that brings, it lessens the complexity.
Mhm.
So, because sometimes people want to buy a business like where they snowbird to so that they can write off, in the winter when they're down there, they can write off trips or back home. And so everybody's again trying to achieve an outcome, and it's more about the outcome than it is about the specific business. The business just helps you achieve those outcomes.
Some of the business, the franchise ideas you had, for example, was you mentioned like a mental health care franchise, but I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I don't know anything about that. So if I was to get into this, do I have to get the skills, or are they going to teach me something about giving these kind of care to people, or is the expectation that I would hire people that have the skills and the diplomas to provide the service?
Oh, sure. You're definitely hiring licensed therapists. But here's the thing. Let's pick an easier business called CertaPro Painters, which is the largest painting company in North America, trending to $1 billion painting company. It's a franchise where none of their franchisees or employees paint anything. So
Yeah,
it's the largest painting company in North America, and nobody paints anything? No, they're a sales and marketing company
yeah.
selling paint jobs. They're not competing against Joe Painter guy. They're using the local mom and pop contractors to do the work. The reason the contractors do the work is they don't like the business side. They're good at painting the wall. They want to be the trades guy. So they can manage the crews. So this allows the franchisee of CertaPro to have very low fixed cost and to use the subcontractor model. So in a healthcare model like LE Mental Health, it's going to work the same way. You're going to bring licensed clinicians into your clinic, and they're going to be the direct care. So this owning a franchise is not about you making the donuts. Owning a franchise is about you being the CEO of a business that delivers whatever mental health care or paints houses. So there are businesses where you can buy yourself a job, but I don't think in your audience, as you've defined it, there are people that want to trade their time for money. They're already doing that. They're
Yeah.
looking for more semi-absentee ways to build additional revenue streams while they keep their job. And that's the executive strategy of franchising, where you hire to the experience of the business, you work on it as the CEO, and your team and your manager work in it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just because I've seen some people that I know that they bought like a sandwich kind of like franchise, and then they were wearing the aprons and they were making the sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. Okay, so that's good. So on the one side, obviously, we're expecting a lot from the franchisor in terms of telling us where the right markets to do this, like the right process, the system. They're going to implement some marketing for us and all that kind of stuff. We expect a lot from them. What kind of other support do they offer? Are they going to tell us like how to scale the business? Are they going to tell us like, okay, now your business or is working pretty well, but right now what you should focus on is the marketing, or this time you should focus on recruiting people that are going to provide the service, or you need to do, are they going to give you that kind of consultative advice on how to scale your franchise?
If you ask.
Oh, you okay?
So, so here's the thing,
Are they
right? Like
open
this
to
is,
that, or is this like you know?
I mean, yeah, they're open to
Yeah,
that
okay.
because the bigger you grow your business, the more royalties you're going to pay back to them. So all franchisors want their franchisees to keep growing and growing. But on the flip side of that, people are signing up to be a business owner and to be accountable. So the
Yeah.
franchisor is not going to be looking over your shoulder, micromanaging you. This
Mhm.
isn't like a W-2 job. This is your opportunity to make or break, right? So you've got to raise your hand and say, hey, I need help, or hey, I have some questions. But in addition to the franchisor, you have all of your neighboring franchisees. So in franchising, Eric, we're not competitors with each other. We're collaborators, right? We're all shareholders in the same brand. So if I figure out how to do something in my business here in New Hampshire, and you and I are friends, and you're in Florida, and I'm like, hey, I figured this out, and this just 10x to my month. And then you go and try it and you 10x your month, and then you share it with the next person. Well, what we're all trying to do is build brand equity, because in a franchise, if you have brand equity, that is value that you can sell. When you look at some of the biggest American brands like Massage Envy or Orange Theory Fitness, right? These Planet Fitness, these businesses, they had peak moments where that brand equity sort of came to a crescendo. There was no more territory left to buy, but the world had woken up and everybody wanted one. And so what happened is those pioneering franchisees who had the most established businesses in some of the best markets in the country were able to raise their hand and say, well, you can buy mine, pay me 6 times my EBITDA, and I'll happily go away.
Mm.
And they got it. So it's not like those businesses hold on to those kind of exit strategies, but it can happen when we all come together in a franchise to build that brand equity, which is what we're trying to build. When people say, well, isn't a franchise like Chick-fil-A, build it and they will come? No, the only reason Chick-fil-A is at a moment in history where it's build it and they will come is because Chick-fil-A has been franchising for, I don't even know, 30 or 40 years. And these franchisees have been executing to perfection on the core values from their fearless leader, Truett Cathy. So they have executed an experience to us customers to where we don't even have to stand in a Chick-fil-A and we know what Chick-fil-A stands for. That's brand name recognition. But if you're investing in Chick-fil-A now, you're not getting the best territories, right? Because it's too picked over. So
Yeah.
if you want to be kind of you want to be kind of coming in more on the pioneering side where there isn't brand name recognition yet, but you're going to be building that. And so then when the world wakes up, that's when you have that exit strategy moment. I mean, different investors invest at different parts of the life cycle of a business, but I tend to like help people see, like, and a lot of people get it, like, oh, the pioneering side is where it's at. You want to be the one carving up the market and building those businesses from the ground floor, not coming in paying somebody 6 times what they built and
Yeah.
taking it over.
Yeah, yeah, very good. So Kim, it was a great discussion. If people want to, first of all, you mentioned like a free consultation. So how can people get that free consultation?
Yeah, absolutely. You can email me. Actually, just go to my website, thedailycoach.com. That's DALY. And right on there is a contact Kim. You can fill out my contact form and then we can schedule some time. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework to do before we get on the phone, just to kind of get organized in your thoughts and your finances before we start talking about the investment. So that's probably the best way. But my services are always free. You never pay me any money. I'm paid by the franchisors to offer this service.
Oh, that sounds great. Any other, you mentioned also anything else you want to mention, or what's the best place for people to reach out to you? You also mentioned that you had like a podcast or a channel somewhere. So you want to mention that also?
I'm an information junkie. So the smarter you can be, the better off you're going to be, right? Knowledge can be power. So if you want to go to my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv, I have over 600 videos on all things franchising, business coaching. And then I also have a podcast called Create Wealth through franchising on Spotify, Apple, but also you can find all of my podcast episodes on my YouTube channel as well. And then from either or any of those places, of course, you can contact me when and if you're ready to begin your process with working with me.
Excellent. Well, Kim, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.